now is a way to know when we have adjectives. What is the syntactic category of adjectives? It's a word that modifies a noun. So for example, when you say Paul is tall, tall is describing Paul. It's telling you about a property of Paul. So therefore, tall is defined as an adjective. It's giving you information about a noun. Therefore, we would expect that it can undergo certain processes that only adjectives can undergo. Nouns, verbs, everything else cannot undergo these. So what do we have as those processes? If you say Paul is taller than Mary, notice that what's going on with tall is that you have added this ER to the end. And what does the ER mean? It means that we're now comparing Paul with respect to another individual, Mary, with respect to tallness. So when you have the comparison of one individual with another, we use what we call the comparative marker, ER. And this comparative marker shows up only on adjectives. So for example, if you have Paul is taller than Mary, Paul is nicer than Mary, Paul is meaner than Mary, Paul is odder than Mary, all of those words are going to be, 100% adjectives because you're forming the comparative form. So just as you can form the comparative when you have an adjective, you can also form the superlative. So you can say Paul is the tallest boy in the class. And what is going on here? Here we have tall, and we're wondering, okay, is this an adjective? Is this working like an adjective? What is the meaning that it takes on in this example? Here we're comparing Paul to who? Not just one other individual, but to the whole set, right? To all the boys in the class. So we're saying from all the boys in the class, Paul has the property of being the tallest, of being number one with respect to tallness. So this is what we call the EST, the superlative marker. And just like the comparative marker, it only appears when you have an adjective. So if you can add EST to a word, you know that it is going to be an adjective. So for example, if you have Paul is the nicest boy in the class, Paul is the strangest boy in the class, etc. You can put any adjective into that position and you're going to form the comparative or the superlative. So notice, however, that if we have a sentence like Mary is intelligent. Mary is intelligent. Imagine if we tried to form the comparative form with this adjective. First, why do we think it's an adjective? Because intelligent is modifying Mary. It's modifying a noun. So therefore, it's functioning as if it's an adjective. So if you say Mary is intelligenter than Francis. Now this is a really weird sentence, right? We can't say Mary is intelligenter than Francis. But why not? Because we said intelligent seems to be an adjective, and yet it cannot appear with the ER marker. Think about how we would form this sentence. So if we wanted to make a real English sentence here, what would we say? Mary is more intelligent than Francis. So we have an alternative way to form the comparative. It's still the comparative. So Mary is more intelligent than Francis is still the comparative form of intelligent, but when we have the adjective intelligent, we need to add this word more instead of this ER at the end of the word. Why? Because basically small adjectives in English, smart, tall, nice, kind, all appear with the ER marker in the comparative. However, when you have an adjective that is longer than a couple of syllables, you cannot form the comparative in the superlative by adding just er and est. You have to use more and most. So you can't say intelligenter, but you carry the same meaning by saying Mary is more intelligent than Francis. So it is the comparative form, even though it doesn't appear with er, right? If you have a small adjective, it will appear with er. If you have a larger adjective in English, it appears with more. And we can see the same for most, right? So Mary is the most intelligent girl in the class. This is the way that we would have to form the superlative with an adjective like intelligent, because you can't say Mary is the intelligentest girl in the class. That doesn't work. Why? Intelligent is too large an adjective to undergo er or est comparative superlative. So we have another way of forming the superlative, which is with most. It's still a superlative. So if you can form a comparative or a superlative in any way, either with er, est, or with more or most, you know it is an adjective.